Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Adelaide Conservatives. As always, I'm here with Luke Munro. Luke, welcome back, mate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's been a couple of weeks between our last episode. Of course, the American election feels like every 2 days is your late-on news. And a lot has been happening over there in the United States and locally here in Australia too. I think the Albanese government is falling further and further behind. We've known for a while they've been in trouble. I think we're starting to really think they could be in some serious trouble too. But welcome back to the podcast, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, it has only been a couple of weeks, but a lot's happened. I mean, if we talk US politics to start with, you just look at you had the debate, which, look, to be fair, Kamala Harris won the debate, but I think with a lot of help. Mm-hmm. And as it's sort of been revealed now, it sounds like she already had all the questions and still couldn't answer a question.
There has been a whistleblower that is said to be close to the ABC over there in America. That whistleblower has said that the questions were leaked to the Harris campaign and the strategy was to pretty much fact-check as much as they could Donald Trump and let Kamala have a dream run in that.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting part for me is, time will tell how much of that is a fact, and this person says they've got some audio of it. It'd be a good time to release it, I would have thought. But ABC's...
they'll wait a couple of weeks to drop that one.
But ABC's reluctance to actually address the issue tells you think there could be a bit of truth to it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think there is some truth to it. I mean, the same thing happened with Hillary Clinton, and that's just a known fact that for the debates she had all the questions already mapped out in order of where they were going to come, so she could prep to death on it. Whereas, Trump's never had that privilege.
If I was the CEO of the ABC and that allegation was made and I knew it was not correct, I'd be coming out on the media the next day saying, put up a front up, you say you've got this video, release it. We're confident we've never had those discussions. You've got the front foot like that. Look, but the fact they're not doing that tells me there's a bit of truth to it.
No, absolutely, 100%. I mean, let's be real. Outside of Fox News, Trump hasn't got a friend over there. Every news network is hammering the hell out of him just that they are scared shitless of him becoming president again. Yeah,
and I think it was, if you look at it, I think Kamala Harris did the best job she could possibly have done in that debate.
She probably did better than I thought she'd do, to be honest. She didn't completely. She didn't start cackling like a loon.
She didn't go into any detail on any policies, but she didn't make any mistakes.
No.
So, but what was her best night was probably also one of Trump's worst nights when we saw him starting to talk about cats and dogs. And I think his preppers and his advisors would have been watching that going, mate, what are you doing?
I was sitting at my business watching it going, oh, my God. Like, I mean, whether it's true or not, there's plenty of stuff out there that suggests it is, but whether it's true or not, I mean, it just sounds crazy.
It sounds crazy, and the fact is, one defence on that was, well, I've seen it on TV. It's just going to feed into that narrative that he's this TV watching. So, but the point being, that was her absolute best performance that she could possibly have had.
Yeah, and
Donald Trump had one of his worst debates performances that we've seen on a stage.
Yep,
and the polls didn't really move at all.
No, as you know, and as any of the viewers know, I'm a bit of a polling nerd, and basically, Trump gained some ground leading into it nationally. On the Real Clear Politics polling aggregate, he was at 1.4% behind.
Yep.
It blew out to 2%, probably within the days after the debate, but that was the high point, and as of today, it's back to 1.8%. So,
and we've mentioned this before. This is going to be the election of the turnout versus the suppression of votes.
Yep.
When we see things like Kamala Harris not going into any detail, not having to do news conferences, and that's even been highlighted on places like CNN.
Yeah.
The figures don't move. When we see Donald Trump make a mistake or say something silly or outlandish, we don't see that. The voters there are now rostered on.
Well, I said that a couple of podcasts ago. Like, I really, even after the assassination stuff, I didn't think there was going to be much movement, because I think most Americans have already decided. Mm-hmm. It's going to really come down to 40 or 50,000 voters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That's really what that's who they're appealing to.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it will come out to turnout. So people are going to either vote yay or nay, for or against either party.
Yep.
Who are the ones that actually turn out? Who are motivated on the day? And American politics is strange. Like, the weather can have a difference on election day of who actually turns out. So when you have, and I think Donald Trump's supporters are more passionate about supporting Donald Trump. Kamala Harris's supporters Yes, she's got some passionate ones, but the ones that the middle ground she's fighting for that might vote for her if it was a compulsory election, they had to vote for someone because they couldn't bring themselves to vote for Donald Trump. Will they be motivated enough if it's a snowing day and they've got work on a Tuesday? I think the Trump supporters will come out in the numbers. So that's probably his saving grace now within that polling figure.
Well, they need to, because Trump's ceiling is 47%.
Yes,
that's where he's at. He can't get any higher than that. And it seems that he's maintained that 47%. The only variation is some people have said, yeah, no, I'll vote for Kamala Harris, and that's what's pumped her numbers up a little bit. But like you said, like she's got to get 47+% of those people polled to actually turn up to beat him. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the real question, because I don't doubt that Trump's people will turn up in numbers.
If I was reincarnated as a lefty and I was on the Harris campaign and I was an advisor, my advice would be, how can we get you the biggest media impact without you answering any detail?
Yeah, that was the debate.
That was the debate. That was Oprah Winfrey's today. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Oprah's come out and endorsed her anyway, so it was always going to be a pretty low-ball interview.
I thought it was interesting that she's, if anyone breaks into her house, she was going to shoot them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit! I'll have to take that one back. My people will talk to me about that later. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, Oprah would have been sitting there thinking, oh my God, woman,
we have rolled out the red carpet here for you, and you've said that. Know your audience as well.
You want to take everyone's guns away, and you just said you'd shoot someone if they break into your house. I mean, that'll get no coverage on MSNBC or CNN, but hopefully enough people see it.
It's the opposite of the one of the famous debate moments in the US election, where the Democratic nominee was asked about if someone was to come into his house and kill or rape his wife and daughter, would he be still for not having the death penalty? And he says, no, I wouldn't want the death penalty. And it was like a sinking moment of...
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
It was a gotcha.
It was a gotcha, but it was the opposite of that, where it's going, hang on a minute, you've just said... the opposite of your policy.
Yeah.
You've gone on a road that you don't subscribe to yourself if you actually follow your policies, which is hard to follow because they flip-flop.
The only, as far as social media and stuff, like she's relatively got that all wrapped up, but the one saving grace is Elon Musk. He just keeps posting stuff every day. I don't know if you've seen much of it, but on X, he's posting stuff every day. And he's got a massive, 90 to 100 million audience.
Yeah,
he's posting stuff every day of the when she said this and now what she says now stuff. So as long as he keeps pumping that out there, that's going to maybe enough people that are undecided will see that and go, oh, hang on.
It does have you think what a moment it was when Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have done that and Twitter had remained under the same administration that it was, free speech, particularly in America, would be seriously at risk by now. Oh, it would be almost dead and buried. And this is the thing about free speech, and we'll talk about it a bit later, maybe when we talk about some Australian stuff that's coming out with some misinformation bills. Free speech is only there if people can say things that you don't agree with. Free speech is only there if people can say things that frankly are wrong. But the flip part of free speech is that people are allowed to call them out, and people can make up their own opinion on these things.
Yeah.
As soon as you find a state or a big tech company to be the arbiter of truth, that's when free speech is dead. And without Elon Musk buying Twitter, now becoming X, I think would be in a very dangerous place.
Oh, that's why they're going after him now. Like he was their darling a few years ago, the left, and now he's bought their leftard echo chamber. He's suddenly Elon bad. It's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible the turnaround.
When they thought he was just building electric cars and solar panels, they thought, well, this guy's the best thing in sliced bread. But as soon as he had his own opinion on things, well, we can't have that at all. No, you can't be a free-thinking individual.
Yeah.
And to be frank, you can't get and do what he's done without being a free-thinking individual anyway. He's going to have his strong opinions. He's going to have his own ways. Tell me one billionaire that doesn't have their own way of going about things.
No, that's right. No, and what he's doing's. Yeah, look, I like what he's doing. You needed it because, and even Meta / Facebook's now they are starting to adjust their way of thinking too. Is that they're seeing that there are some serious problems here.
Well, it becomes a competitive market, and I think the average person has understood that if they want to see something uncensored, they have to go to X.
Yeah.
Therefore, that platform is getting a bigger viewing. Therefore, if people like Meta, Facebook, don't change their ways, they're going to be left behind, and that's what an open market would do. It would be competitive.
Yeah. No, that's right. And look, it's not doing what Elon sees it doing, like as yet, but in time, because he lost a lot of his audience, lost a lot of advertisers and things like that, because it wasn't that leftard echo chamber anymore. So what he's lost there, he's slowly creeping back and gaining back.
And of course, we have seen another assassination attempt, more of a attempted attempt this time around than the first time on former President Donald Trump. So it turns out this bloke was staking out in the bushes for up to 12 hours.
Yeah.
Beforehand at the golf club down there in Florida, Trump's own golf club.
Yeah.
Trump was about a hole or two behind when the Secret Service... And by the way, well done for the Secret Service. The way it looked like they had a pod of agents that would go a hole in front of where Trump was.
Yeah.
They've noticed a barrel of a rifle, and this time they've actually acted, and it sounds like they've opened fire before they've had the opportunity to fire back.
Yeah.
This person's fled. It was, I think, a random person took a photo of the car. That's how they knew the license plate. They've caught this bloke. Bit of an extremist himself, but the fact it's happened twice now.
I love it. I love it too. How MSNBC said it is not clear what his political persuasions are.
No,
as they have a picture out front of his house with the Harris Biden sticker on the back of his pickup truck. Like, I was like, really?
We're not too clear if that's his pickup truck.
Don't know if he's with the Dems or not. Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the places, all the far left causes that he's donated money to in the last few years as well.
Or to the fact that he just did try to assassinate the Republican nominee is probably a good. Just within itself, before you look at that, that's a probably good sign.
The priceless thing was I saw it on MSNBC, and they've got the shot of his house, and they didn't even mention it, but I saw it. Fox picked up on it and mentioned it. But when I saw it, and I'm going, hang on, there's a big, massive Biden-Harris sticker on the back of his pickup truck. And you're saying, in the same interview, you're saying that it's not really sure what his political persuasions were. I'm thinking, my ass. Like,
that's actually quite. I've not seen that. That's
no.
That's something.
Well, that just shows that I sometimes go to the dark side and watch MSNBC.
Well, you gotta hear what they're saying to work out how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. No, I'll give CNN some credit. They've at least tried to be a little bit impartial with some things. I think that's purely rating driven.
Their ratings is plummeted.
Their ratings are in the toilet.
Yeah.
So I think they've worked out we can't just keep being so left wing and so progressive about everything we talk about and our views, or we're not going to have a network soon. Elon might buy CNN.
Well, it's a lot cheaper than what he. So how much would CNN be worth?
I did look this up a while ago. I think it's like $10 or $11 billion.
10 or 11 billion. The sale of Twitter. What was that?
44 billion.
44. So it's within his reach.
Yeah. Oh no. Look. I think Elon would have that money in his ashtray if he needed it.
Yeah.
Actually, there's no ashtrays in Teslas, but equivalent
they would try and look at some media monopoly laws to make sure that couldn't happen. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. No, you could buy a network.
Yeah. Oh, they would try it.
Yeah. No, you could definitely buy a network. But yeah, no, they'll try and do something to stop him. They'll go, oh no, but yeah, no, it's it'd be hilarious.
So how's the polling looking for America then? We're talking about it. Pennsylvania at the moment. That's one of the big states they keep on talking about. Where's that at?
Look, Pennsylvania's line ball. In all the there's the odd poll that has Harris 3 or 4 points ahead, but I think they're outliers. Having said that, there's Rasmussen polls that come out that have Trump 3 points ahead too, but I think they're, for whatever reason, they're a bit of an outlier towards the Republicans.
Yeah.
But the averages in general, I think Trump's up by 0.1%. Now, if that remains the same, if it remains at that 0.1%, just based on the fact that we know the polling's not 100% accurate, and in a state like Pennsylvania, there's about a 2-point difference in the accuracy, which favours the Democrats. So, like, if I was a betting man, I would be saying now that Trump's ahead in Pennsylvania. I think he's behind in Michigan. I think Michigan's gone.
Yep.
He's about 2 points behind there, or just under 2 points. But the polling last time was very accurate for Michigan. How they do it and how it works out, don't ask me. But it just seems to be accurate for a state like Michigan. Now, Wisconsin's the one that for the last 3 federal elections there has been 5 to 6 points out in favour of the Democrat. So it could be to do with a big rural population, so they're not getting to poll a proper broad spectrum of the population, but their polling seems to be out of whack massively. And now the Clear Politics averages say that Harris is going to win that by 2 to 3 points. Well, if that's correct, I'd put that in Trump's column.
Yep.
The one that's probably the worry for Trump more than anything's probably Georgia. Mm-hmm. Georgia's pretty line ball at the moment. Trump is ahead by 0.4, but the polling there was spot on in 2020. It was out in 2016, but it was spot on in 2020. So they obviously worked out, ways of getting a more accurate picture there. And it's not just the 2020 election, the midterms, they were spot on in Georgia as well.
So they've got it right twice.
I think the polling's right.
Their formula is spot on for.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that the same goes for the...
Can you translate that to any national? We go, if that's the state that's really accurate, is there any more weight given to that going, if you look at that accuracy nationally, if there's a bit of a trend?
Nationally it's worse. So nationally... At the last election, or the 2018 midterms, 2020, 2022 midterms, there was a 3 to 3.2% difference between what they polled nationally and what the actual outcome was in favour of the Democrat.
Yeah.
So the averages now have Harris ahead by 1.9. I don't think it's there. I think Trump's probably ahead nationally.
Yeah.
But it's electoral college. So my biggest
fear, you look at the path to 270, isn't it?
Yeah. My biggest fear for Trump looking at the polling is he may come close this time to actually doing the opposite of what happened with Hillary.
In 2016, he might win the popular vote and then lose the electoral college.
Lose on because we're talking about 50 or 60,000 people across that Rust Belt of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. That was the difference, and then Georgia, the difference was 2,000 votes.
Yeah.
So in 2020, so it's such a fine line. If Trump loses by a couple of hundred votes, all 4 of those states, he's out.
Yeah.
But having said that,
it might actually be worth just explaining to our viewers that may not be as familiar with the electoral college system. So each state has, depending on its population, an amount of electoral college delegates that get submitted, depending on the result of that state's election. Now, it doesn't matter if you win that state, just say it's a state that's got 18 electoral college votes. If you win that state by 1 million people, or if you win it by 10 votes, all of those 18 electoral college votes will go to that candidate. So you can have a big win in a state that's got 7 electoral college votes and lose by 1 or 2 votes in an electoral college state that has a lot, and it's going to really hurt you on that flight. That's why the national vote, the popular vote, can be very different to the electoral college vote.
And in general, there is a slight gerrymander in favour of the Republicans on the electoral college. And now that's, if you don't know what a gerrymander's basically where someone can get more votes than someone else, and just because of the arrangement of the seats, all the states in the college, you get what I guess appears to be an unfair result. But you get that gerrymander in the United States because states like California and New York, where there's a lot of electoral college votes, there's 50 electoral college votes between them.
Yeah.
In those states, or it's actually, I think it might even be 55, but don't have the exact figure, but it's a lot of electoral college votes in those states. They always vote massively in favour of the Liberal or the Democrat. So what ends up happening is that you can win Harris will win California by 8 million votes.
Yeah.
But she still gets the same amount of electoral college points.
Yeah.
The thing that Trump's got, that where I see it shifting a little bit now, is that's not changed for California or New York, but he's smashing it in Texas and in Florida. Whereas they always used to be... They used to be swing states.
Well, Florida in particular was the one. If you look at 2016, what we talk about Pennsylvania now was the speak of Florida, basically in 2016. Yeah. And look, the
in
benefit of it...
2012, Texas was the same.
Yeah.
Texas has shifted further and further to the Republicans.
They've got more responsible with their thoughts.
And they've got roughly the same electoral college votes as California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Trump can win by 6 or 7 million votes in Texas. Same problem Harris is going to have with California. He only gets the same amount of college votes. Yeah.
And that's one of the good part about the electoral college is it makes the candidates not be so central on just a couple of states. Yeah. It is the United States of America, and whoever wins the presidency has to govern for each of those states. And if you had the big states bullying up, looking for everything they could, the Federal Reserve and the funds would be pouring into those, and you would have the Rust Belt states or the smaller states around the place getting disadvantaged for that reason. So there is quite a significant benefit to having that system, in my opinion. But
Well, I mean, and it changes all the time. It's not set in stone. So basically, like we do a rebordering of electorates, redistribution. They do the same thing there. Like Texas has got more electoral college votes this election than it did last election, and California's got less.
Yeah, and it looks at your population versus the total population.
Yeah, it's a percentage of population. Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting in the next couple of months anyway. Coming in.
So just to basically close with it, it's going to be very, very close. My gut just tell. I know what my heart says, but my gut says that I think unless something changes drastically, I think Trump's going to fall over the line. Mm-hmm. I think I can't see. Like if he loses, I think it's going to be Georgia's going to be the one I'll be watching. If he looks like early in the night that he's got Georgia wrapped up, I think that's about game over because I think he'll get Pennsylvania, and I still think he'll get Wisconsin. I think Michigan's gone, but I think he'll get Wisconsin.
He's got a wider path.
He can get Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and still lose Georgia, and he'll be president.
And that's the difference. I think it's going to be a close election. You'd never bet your house on it. But when you look at it on an electoral map, when you add up all those electoral college votes, Donald Trump's path has more alternative routes to it. Kamala Harris is trying to go this very direct way of getting to, 278 she could get to?
276 is basically what Kamala Harris... I believe that's the best she can hope for.
So that's her ceiling, so she's got a narrow path to get there.
Yeah, she everything's got to go right. But like I said,
it could happen.
It's a fine line and it could happen. But that's her path. Whereas Trump could just as easily end up on 330 electoral college votes and absolutely smash it. That could happen too. I don't think it will because I think there will be a surprise or two on the night. But I think her path is much narrower.
And again, going back to the start of this conversation, this may all change if it's a snowstorm outside. Like the American system is different.
Yeah, but I like the prospects. I hope there's a blizzard nationwide.
Yeah.
Because I know the people that are more likely to get out of bed.
The people who'll be motivated to go and vote. Yeah, exactly right. Might just move over now to the Middle East. Some incredible developments coming out this week.
Yep.
Lebanon, Hezbollah. It seems to be Israel is responsible for putting a small explosive charge into some paging devices from Hezbollah militants. Was it 2,000 to 3,000?
I think at least that.
So. It stemmed basically, Hezbollah in Lebanon realised that their phones are being tapped via the Israeli intelligence agency, which is the Mossad. And they did the right thing, and they thought, well, we don't want our conversations to be listened to. That's not a great thing in a time of nearly all-out war. Yeah. Why don't we try and go a little bit old school? So they got the pages that you'd be familiar with the old school doctors, nurses would have in the hospital.
Yep.
They've ordered 2,000 to 3,000 of these. It looks like somewhere in the shipment, Israel has gone in. They've changed maybe one of the batteries with a small explosive device. And at 3:30 p.m. yesterday, they've hit the button. Bang, or the day before now.
Well, twice.
Twice. Well, here's the great thing about it. So that was the first one, and in supermarkets, and you saw this footage of these people, and some from the left, and even on CNN, they were trying to say this was indiscriminate. No, it was the most targeted attack you could possibly do.
Targeted. I mean,
and it's sad. I think it was
innocent people got killed, which is the.
It's always sad. But in terms of if you were to target the same terrorist cells with traditional, even really good high tech guided missiles, you're going to have a much bigger casualty rate.
You take out the block.
Yeah. So this is a device that's literally sitting on the person. In most cases, it's just a person, or I think a lot of them have been blinded. They've literally looked at the message that's coming. That's when it's gone off.
Yeah.
So that's remarkable in itself. Fast forward 24 hours the next day, they're having some of these funerals on the street for these people.
Yeah.
And their walkie-talkies start exploding. Now, they're never going to be able to trust another electronics device again. This is
no. If you're a member of Hezbollah, you'd be scared shitless to answer your phone or turn your TV on. I mean, look. To be fair, that is true terrorism. What they've done there, like that's
it's scary as shit.
That's going to terrorise those guys for years.
Mm-hmm.
And look, but Israel's shown. They've shown a few times during this latest conflict that really, when it comes to the crunch, if you mess with them, they can get you.
Yeah.
Look at the Hamas leader getting blown up in his own safe house in Tehran, in Iran. There, look at the missile strikes. Like
it doesn't matter how safe you think you are, they can get you.
Iran send across, and all they did was put a dent in the end of one runway.
And frankly, being a country with the history that they've got, surrounded by literally on every border people that want to kill them, their biggest safeguard is deterrent, and people need to know in those areas that if you mess with them, they have a way of finding you wherever you are. And that's what they've relied on in their whole history. They've got a remarkable history of their intelligence services, and this is another. Their capability is huge. This is not a small operation. It's terrorism in the fact it is terrorising, but it's not terrorism in the fact that is a very targeted. The civilians weren't targeted. This is the most. This is against a terrorist cell, where if you have one of those pages, you are literally.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm shedding a tear at all for Hezbollah, but it's just
you've gone soft on the sleeve.
It's just freaking ingenious, really, what they've done.
Yeah,
but mind you, and it's hit them that hard. Like I would have expected by now, 100,000 rockets to be flying over towards Israel in retaliation, but I think it's shaken them that much that they're like, what do we do next? They're waiting for the Ayatollah basically to tell them what to do next.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if there is a chain of command and what to do next, how are they going to get the information to them to have a coordinated attack? Carrier pigeon.
I think chain of commands. And chain of commands. Probably most of us dead or in hospital.
There was a part when I must admit, when I first heard it, I thought, oh, is there a bigger attack coming here from Israel? Because if you were going to invade an area
but Israel hasn't claimed responsibility.
No, they haven't. It could be anyone.
That's right. It
could be anyone with that capability.
It could be the Taiwanese pager manufacturer that was. God, I've never seen anyone get so quickly on the TV to go, it wasn't me. I can understand that. They go, oh crap!
No, we had them ready for China. I mean,
but yeah,
that's going to be a remarkable thing. Because I thought that'd be a great precursor. Because if you were going to invade. Right, if you're going to go in and try and actually get into these terror cells in the military sense, you'd want to get rid of their chain of command really quickly to do it beforehand.
But what's complicated with Lebanon, and it's just for some of the viewers that may not really understand it, like half the Lebanese people don't like Hezbollah either. Like,
yes,
well, probably more than half, because Hezbollah are Iranian Shia Muslims. That have basically, since the 70s, more or less infiltrated all their systems of government, got seats in parliament, all that sort of stuff.
And enriched themselves, and the people have got poorer. And
yeah, but the Sunni Muslims there don't like them. They hate them. The Catholics there, which are basically the other half of the country, don't like them. They hate them. And then the Palestinians that are there, well, everyone hates them. So the country's very complicated. I mean, they have it. Their constitution basically has that half the seats in parliament must be occupied by Muslims, half must be occupied by Christians. That's their system of government. It's not a very functional system of government. Not much gets done. So that the current prime minister there is of the Muslim. He's a Hezbollah politician, but the trade-off is your defence minister or your health minister have to be a Christian. So I just don't know how it's working.
Who coordinated that system? It sounds like maybe a dream child of Anthony Albanese, and he did a referendum on it or something.
Yeah. No, that's basically been since all the upheaval in Beirut in 1983-84. That's basically been the system to try and stop them from going to civil war.
It's a good example, though, isn't it? Like, so that's probably a well-intended system.
It doesn't work though, because both the Christians and the Muslims, that nothing gets done.
Yeah.
And they're both as corrupt as each other.
Well, that's the thing.
In that system, because
it doesn't matter how well intended it is.
They know they can't lose their seat.
Yeah.
So they can just rotate seats with people as people retire or people die or whatever.
Yeah.
So they know they're going to have their seat because they know they're going to have X number of Christian seats, X number of Muslim seats, and there's no real accountability.
Yeah, and it actually stifles democracy.
Yeah, it does.
So it's no longer a truly representative democracy because the people aren't electing who they want to represent them.
No. It's a co-op, basically.
But I mean, Lebanon's complicated. The whole Middle East is complicated. That's why no one has been able to actually sort this out over all this time. It's an extremely complicated part of the world.
That's exactly the same as we're sort of digressing. Well, not really. It's the same topic, but we're talking Middle East, Israel.
We'll go with it.
But you look at the whole. I have these arguments with people I know that are more pro-Palestinian.
Yeah.
Like you look at, you got West Bank, where you've got basically the old PLO in charge there in the West Bank, Fatah, and then in Gaza you've got Hamas. Now, all these people that keep going two-state solution. Well, who are you going to do the deal with?
Yeah.
Like, Fatah will not share power with Hamas, and vice versa. So, what really, you probably need a three-state solution, and even then, even in the West Bank, Hamas have seats in their parliament, in their Palestinian Authority. So you're going to have conflict there as well, and they hate each other. They hate each other almost more than what they hate the Israelis.
Yeah.
So all these people that keep talking two-state solution, it's just not. They don't understand the lay of the land there.
Yeah, it's people's inherent wish to simplify a complex part of the world. In all of our heads, if you don't think about the actual detail and the real life consequences, you go, "Oh, two-state solution. Can't everyone just be happy? La-di-da, let's live life free." And well, that's not the way people work. It's not the way religion works and politics works. And it is a really complex area. And if it was that simple, it would have been solved a long time ago.
Well, they almost got there in 1996 with Yasser Arafat. But Yasser Arafat's done the deal, where they were all in front of the White House with Bill Clinton, and everything was awesome. And then when he's come back to, he didn't go back to Palestine because I don't think he ever went there from the 6 Day War onwards. Yep. But he went back to Egypt where he was hiding out. Spoke to all the leadership within the PLO, and they went, "No, we don't like that deal." So they blew the deal up. Like they literally had a two-state solution at their fingertips, and they blew the deal up.
And every time it's come
now you got all these settlers coming in, and now I don't necessarily think that's just either, but they should have taken the deal when they had the deal. They didn't take the deal. Israeli settlers have the whole place is infiltrated with Israeli settlers. So the West Bank is never going to be Israel is never going to be able to let that go.
Yeah,
because it'll turn into a massacre, just like what we saw on October 7.
It would
on all the settlers. And now people say, "Oh, the settlers are killing Palestinians and doing this, that, and the other." Well, they're all killing each other. Just one side happens to be armed a shitload better than the other, and that's why the casualties are different.
It is the other thing to note that every time in history that a two-state solution could have been possible was on the table, it was never Israel that walked away from the negotiation table.
No, it's five times since 1967.
So if you want a two-state solution,
tried to propose
look who's the one that's saying no to it in history.
And the thing that whenever I argue this or debate this with some of my lefty friends, the thing that they do what the left always does. They want to enforce their worldview and enforce their ideology on me, and at the same time they want to do it on the Palestinian people. You will have a two-state solution. This will be awesome. Well, they don't want it.
Oh, it's the same.
Like they're ignoring the fact that that Fatah and Hamas both do not recognise the state of Israel. So how are you going to have a two-state solution? They hate each other. They don't recognise the state of Israel. And their whole doctrine is about destroying the state of Israel, like from the river to the sea. They've both got that in their charters. So how on earth could you possibly have peace or a deal with these people?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, and by us going in there and making a two-state solution happen now, which is what people on the left seem to want, that's just as bad as what's happening with the Israelis. We're enforcing our worldview because we know best.
We know best.
We're enforcing our worldview on a bunch of people that are a long, long way on a lot of things than we are.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I mean, we've spoken about this before. You look at queers for Palestine, and
it's absurd.
You're trying to put your own political beliefs into this because this is the way you want to the oppressed and the oppressor. But you know damn well
those
you'd
pricks
be
would get thrown off buildings if they were over there.
Yeah.
Like it's a joke.
The only place, and we've said this before, the only place in the Middle East where if you're an openly and proud gay man, lesbian woman, anything else it would be, the only place you'd be safe in the Middle East is if you are in Israel.
Yeah.
That's the place to be.
Yep.
In fact, in a lot of ways, more so than here. So, now, let's go a bit more closer to home.
Yep.
Australia policy. We mentioned this at the start of the episode. Anthony Albanese is increasingly starting to look weak. He's increasingly starting to look like he's in a pretty precarious position. The polling, you can look at any individual poll and go, okay, it's not looking good. When you're looking at the trend, it is getting worse for Albanese. It's looking better for Peter Dutton. On the big questions, when you look at the polling, if you ask Australians about the economy, they're clearly now saying that it's the government versus the Reserve Bank. They'll put the blame in the government.
Yep.
And if you ask them the same question, who would handle the economy better? People are saying Peter Dutton over Anthony Albanese. So numerous polls, numerous findings, the detail within the polls, it's not looking good. I would still say, if you're a betting man, you would say it would be a minority Labor government siding with the Greens. But for the first time this cycle, I'm really starting to think there is a chance Peter Dutton could land an election victory and get the country back on a bit more of a reasonable footing.
Look, I've got an idea. All the people on the left, or the Labor, all the people in Labor that whinge and whine all the time about the Greens, the Greens being muckrakers, the Greens doing this, the Greens doing that, well, it's easy. And this goes for the coalition too. It's easy. You sit down with them, you do a deal where no Labor MP runs in a Teal seat and no Liberal MP runs in a Green seat. And yeah, people go, oh, this affects my chance of democracy and my choice. But no, you've got to get rid of both of them. You've got to get rid of the Greens. Mm-hmm. And if Liberals didn't run in the Green seats, the Greens are gone.
Yeah.
If Labor didn't run in the Teal seats, those lunatics are gone too. That's what they need to do. And it's probably, it's probably, what, you got 7 Teals, you got 4 or 5 Greens. I mean, I think it's worth it.
And it's
just to get rid of a bunch of people, whether it's Teals or whether it's Greens, that really don't want progress in this country. Mm-hmm. And that they call themselves progressives. But
the reason why that won't happen,
they don't want. Yeah, why do you reckon?
The reason why it won't happen is because Labor won't subscribe to it, because Labor can't have the Teals going away, because obviously they're taking coalition seats. Yeah. And they also understand that the supply of votes is always going to be there with the Greens. So if they're looking at it might be the right decision long term for the country and even for the Labor Party long term, but in terms of the next election, that's all they think about. There's a machine just to win the next election. That system would disadvantage Labor, and they couldn't have that.
Yeah, but what's likely to happen? Like I'll call it now. There's no way on earth Albo is going to win a majority.
No,
he is going to be in minority government if he gets there. And is he like? So he's going to do a deal with all these Teals that get in. Like, mind you, I think probably half the Teals are going to lose their seats anyway. I think Liberals will win.
Let's hope so.
Back. But so you're going to do a deal with these Teals, which will do one or two things. You're gonna be beholden to them for the next 3 years, and it's going to look a bit like the Gillard exercise.
Yeah.
And the second thing is too, I can't, like, these Teals, their history if they do that.
Well, they're in traditional.
They really have to be thinking, if we do a deal to prop up a Labor government, how do we spin this to a light blue Liberal constituent?
Their electorates are traditionally Liberal electorates.
Yep.
They might not be socially as conservative as the other parts, but certainly economically, they're going to be more leaning towards the Liberal Party.
Yeah, well, they own houses.
Yeah. So if they guarantee supply to a Labor minority, then it's the subsequent election.
Yeah,
we've said this before.
I think their history.
I think
I really reckon. I really think if you're the Teals, and this is where I think Dutton's got a chance, and it'll suck because of the things that he'll have to give up. But he may end up doing a deal with a couple of these Teals, because I think if they want a long political life, they have to do it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's the same thing, not just for the Teals. You look here in South Australia, Rebecca Sharkey, at the last election before the results came out, she came out clear for that very same purpose, because the seat of Mayo was Alexander Downer's old seat. It's a very traditional Liberal seat. It's got the country areas. It's got places like Kangaroo Island, who's always been pretty conservative.
Yeah.
She came out and said, I would not do a deal with a Labor government because I know my electorate are a traditional Liberal electorate. Yes, they want me as an independent, but I'm not going to go against their general feel. She said that before the election, didn't need to do it after because it wasn't a choice.
Well, there's one.
But
well, she's not a Teal, but she's.
But she'll have a predicament if it was up to her. Where does she go? She's just accepted, I think, $200,000 in donations from green industries, so solar and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Would she guarantee a supply to a Liberal government who's saying nuclear against her donors? Like, she's going to be in a really hard position if it becomes where do you support in a minority government?
No, she's already locked in her pension. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine. She'll be fine.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
But but she, I don't know what she would do, to be honest. I think last time I was pretty sure she would have supported the Liberals if push come to shove. This time I'm not so sure.
Oh, I think she'd like the idea of being a minister for her last term.
Yeah, maybe.
Puff up the pension.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be bad. But that's going to be an interesting one to play out anyway.
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. Everything comes down to money.
Some of those people giving her the money. It's all about the money.
Yeah.
We're going to give you money to import these Chinese solar panels and.
We're not doing it to save the world. We're not going to give you $200,000 because we want to save the world from. Because the seat of Mayo in South Australia is going to do that. We're doing it because it's a vote in the Australian Parliament.
It's a business. Yeah.
Exactly right. But that does put Anthony Albanese, I think, in a really weak position. This week he's been talking about a double dissolution.
Oh, go for it.
Oh, he'd be wiped off the floor. And this is why I think he looks weak. One, to threaten a double dissolution appears weak. Yeah. Two, everyone that's watching it going, you wouldn't do that. Like, it was an empty threat. If it was a real threat, you go, okay, maybe there's a bit of stuff. When you know he's not going to do it and he's threatening it, you know he's struggling. He's trying to find something to pull this shit back on the road.
I think it was a misstep.
Yeah,
like Andrew Clennell walked him into it.
Yes,
I don't think he intended on even.
Wasn't it? No,
Andrew Clennell walked him into it, and he's just taken the bait and gone with it. And now,
it's true. I think when you watch it, actually, if you look at Andrew Clennell's face when he's delivering it, he's almost gone, oh yeah, he just took that.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting to take that.
He went for it.
Okay, fair enough. But obviously the economy. In Australia, inflation has been a lot stickier. In other countries, it went higher earlier, but has started to come back down. We've not seen that within Australia. We're in a per capita recession. We've literally been relying on immigration to make sure we haven't gone into recession.
Yep.
Anthony Albanese is desperate for a rate cut from the RBA before we go to an election. He may get one early next year. Might be the way to go.
I don't think it's going to help him. It's not going to make up for the other 13. Or increases.
I think here in South Australia, in the last state election, when South Australia went into Christmas with more COVID restrictions, it was the end of the Marshall government because that feeling was gone. You've ruined another Christmas. We thought we're over this.
Well, it wasn't just Marshall? No, sorry.
No, it wasn't just Marshall. But that was the feeling, basically. It was like, we're over this.
Yeah.
Right? Going into a Christmas holiday festive period, young families trying to buy Christmas presents and not having the money on the table. That is going to be the killer blow, and it doesn't matter what happens early in the new year before the election. People's minds after Christmas, I think, will be very much made up if they're not already.
Yeah. No, and he's got, polling again. The trend is not your friend.
No,
It's a long-lasting saying.
And on top of that, we spoke about this with the Elon Musk discussion we had before.
Yep.
This misinformation bill to try and stifle I don't know who would be the arbiter of truth within how this works.
No,
what are they? What are they trying to do? Seriously, like I've spent a lot of time in particularly in my time in local government around lefties that literally believe this stuff. Like they're not just doing it because they think it's going to win them election. They believe that misinformation is the absolute vein of our existence, and it's going to be the end of democracy, and it's going to. It's a hard-held belief that they have.
Now, what it really tells you about the left compared to, I guess, the right, is the left think they really believe that the average person is too dumb to work it out for themselves.
Yes,
and that is the crux of it. They think the average punter out there is too stupid to be able to see what's BS and what's not. So they want to be able to tell you what is fact and what is truth, and that it happens all over the world. That's what the left do. The left seriously believe that minorities, deep down in those dark spots that they don't want to talk about at dinner parties, but they believe that minorities and the public in general need all the help they can get because they're a bunch of thickos.
No, exactly. And I think the other part is the left more so than the right. I don't think there's anyone out there in the left actually watching this podcast in its entirety. There might be one or two. I know who you are. If you're watching, I know who you are, and stop watching and get a life.
No, get it on.
Keep watching us. Keep putting those little frowny faces on Facebook. We really enjoy it. Every time you do that, it gives us a bit of a thrill. So keep doing it.
They might learn something.
They might, but the left don't want to actually listen to someone who has a difference of opinion to them. I'm happy to sit there and watch, MSNBC, CNN, hear what they're saying, have an open mind to what they're saying, and put it into my thought. And I'll then come up with my own solution and area. And sometimes I do say stuff that seems reasonable, and I'll take it on.
Yeah.
The left don't want to hear, very rarely, but the left don't even want to hear it. The fact that they have to hear it is somehow violent towards them. The fact that someone has said something that has a different of opinion is somewhere taking away their rights. Like, you can hear something and not agree with it. That's fine, but don't be annoyed because someone said it. And that's where this is going for me.
No, that's right. Yeah, no, it's the thought police and the feelings police, and I really don't give an F about your feelings.
We saw the AFL last week. We saw a welcome to country at the MCG.
Oh yeah, I wonder how much that cost the AFL.
250,000 years they've been doing this welcome to country.
250,000.
Yeah. Oh, that's BC before Cook.
Geez, you know what? Like, yeah, they're gonna come out with they were around when dinosaurs were here soon.
Well, here's the thing: we all grew up. That fantastic song for 40,000 years. I've been.
Yep.
So 40,000 years was when our ether is what we all had.
Yep.
Then it was 50,000. During the referendum, Anthony Albanese was saying 65,000. I can almost, there's some reasonable studies out there that could say 65 maxing out, right? Then you're having people saying 100, 120. And now there's 250. It's literally, I think, humans as we are now as a species, how old are we?
Oh, well, it depends what you look at. 100,000, 120,000 years. I think that's what some anthropologists sort of have it at.
Yeah. So
by the time we when we all walked out of the Garden of Eden.
So the fact that they're saying 250,000 years, everyone knows it's a lie. Everyone knows, or it's at least a mistruth. But I don't know where this ends. This is this is the annoying part. And I've spoken to a few Aboriginal people that I know and I've got a lot of time for.
Yeah,
we speak about it maybe from our perspective as white middle-aged conservative men. But if I was looking at it from an Indigenous perspective, there's plenty of stuff in their culture they should be bloody proud of. So every time there's someone out there coming out with these lies and making their background and their history what it's not, I think every culture, people should learn their own culture, learn the facts of that culture, and be proud of the things they should be proud of, learn from the things that they've made mistakes in.
Yeah.
As soon as you have people coming out there that are trying to sensationalise your history, change your history, and lie about it, that's not good for your own culture.
Oh, no.
That's the biggest thing here that I think people miss. It's bad for Aboriginal culture.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I mean, yeah, it's not long now until we get a Welcome to Country where they talk about Aboriginals landing on the moon. I mean, it's coming soon.
Yeah. No,
I mean, and it's embarrassing for Aboriginal people.
And a lot of them are embarrassed by it. When we talk about Aboriginal people, there is some activists and the elite class that get involved in this, but the average bloke that you might have down the local footy club or cricket club, they just put their heads down and go, why are we talking about this stuff? Like, we're just here to have fun. Like, let's not get involved in this every time.
There's lots of Indigenous folks coming out now not wanting these Welcome to Countries.
Yeah.
You know, like, you see Scholes from Geelong came out today, ex-Geelong player, Aboriginal player. He came out and said that, he said it's lost any meaning that it had now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you got people coming out sort of saying that are Indigenous people, I think the writing's on the wall for it. There's a lot of councils around the country at the moment that are canning all those Welcome to Countries.
There is, which is remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's got to a point where people they've just had enough of it.
Councils is where they sort of started creeping in, and it's where they're going to go to die. It's that sort of the barometer of where people think. You see it at the local level change really quickly, but. Yeah, like I said, I just think this rewriting of history, it doesn't serve anyone well, but in particular, it just doesn't serve Aboriginal people well because it's rewriting their history that, frankly, I think they should be proud of, and not everything in their history they should be proud of, but
it just shows like just a lack of any understanding of your history too. Like 250,000 years, like where on earth did he find that number? And the before Cook, okay, well, what about before Tasman? Or what about before any of the other white guys that lobbed here before Cook?
There is a fascination with Cook.
Yeah, it's a weird fascination. Like anyone who think Cook came here and dumped white people on the coast and took off again.
He had none of the settler boats with Cook. He was just the one that came here first and
really, if you really want someone to try and go after, you should be going after Governor MacArthur. Like why aren't they? Like, it's just a complete lack of understanding of history.
And you see this a lot on the internet too now, where people actually on Australia they'll say, why Cook? And they'll say because he bought the first fleet. They believe it. That's all they've heard. That's what they go with. So they don't actually do their own research in this stuff. It's just, and again, I think anytime you see someone not doing their own research and just regurgitating, that's when you know that it's just ideology rather than fact.
Well, I wonder what the Truth Ministry will find with that.
Well, they won't touch that, obviously.
Well, that can be very awkward.
Well, if I put up on Facebook, I'm celebrating 250,000 years of Aboriginal culture, is that going to be censored and say, no, that's a lie? No. A little thing come up and say, no, this is a
No, sorry, you were talking out of your ass. Like, no, I don't think I'm going to see it.
And of course, when you look at different governments, what happens if there's a more conservative government and then they get their people appointed to the certain positions and then the arbiter of that truth is the opposite of what the Albanese government would like now? Like, I wouldn't be for that either. Free speech is free speech.
It'd be kind of funny.
It would be very funny.
But
if you're going to defend free speech, censorship is going to be one of those parts you actually have to say, I don't mind people saying things. Obviously, when it gets to be anything actual incitement of violence, and you have to be really clear on that. So it's incitement of violence isn't saying this person said something I don't like, therefore these people might attack them. That's not incitement of violence. It's actually trying to rally people to do a violent act is incitement of violence.
Yeah. I mean, there's just common sense with stuff. But just because someone says something about COVID one year and then a year later you find out that it's completely, like, what they said was completely true. I mean, how can you go, that's misinformation? It's misinformation based on a feel or based on a government policy. It's not misinformation based on any fact. And that's the thing that'll be scary is if they start doing that, imagine if we had a misinformation ministry during COVID. It'd have been worse than what it was. It was bad enough as it was.
It felt like we did have one.
But just imagine it, and then most of those things that people were saying about COVID and about the vaccine and all that. Well, it's funny. Most of so-called crackpots and conspiracy theory people, it's all come true.
And you see these places. You go, okay, they have similar policies in places like China.
Yeah.
They have similar policies in places like Russia. Why would we want to be going down that road? This is the very thing that separates us from those countries.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah,
no,
100%.
it's ludicrous, and the fact that I think actually is going to be one of their biggest political divides. And look, I put a post up during the week to another one. I think the economy is going to be the central issue of the campaign, and structurally. Yeah. But I think maybe the hill that Anthony Albanese will die on is social cohesion. If you look at everything he's done, but from the voice to Parliament, and he's divided Australia in that way, and he's actually set Aboriginal people back, I think, with the way he handled that. And he could have pulled out of that. He had so many opportunities when it was going south, and he progressed with his own agenda rather than protecting others.
It was just going to happen because Albo's so awesome.
Because Albo's such a champion. You have a look at the way he's been such a fence sitter with the Israel-Gaza.
Yeah.
I don't actually... I know where he sits on this, but I think an outside observer would go, depending on what day is who he's speaking to is who he's supporting.
Yeah.
And of course, the fact we've been so weak on it...
It's all platitudes.
It is, but the fact we've been so weak on it
with anything
has made that from day one, when we had people in the Sydney Opera House yelling out, "Gas the Jews," one of the most awful things I've actually seen in a mass group within this country.
Yeah.
The protests that we've seen, what we saw in Melbourne last week, absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
That is not the Australia I grew up in. That's not the Australia I know.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are going to be to blame is the people in power who stood and did nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
So the social cohesion part for me, I think, is where the quiet Australian... And there might not be Australians that have necessarily a view on the Middle East because they just don't follow world politics that much. But what they do see is their country is changing and becoming a more, more divided, more divided, more dangerous, and less about the core values that we've always stood for. And I think that's the part that I think he's really going to struggle come the election.
No, 100%. Oh, look, I still think it's...
And that's on top of the economy.
I still think it's economy.
It is.
But those other factors don't help him.
Yeah, but there's no factor that's going for him.
No, there's nothing going for him.
So,
and that's why I think he's going to end up with 65 or 66
his only chance is to pass a misinformation bill and make sure no one knows about it.
Yeah, and he's going to have to... Oh, God, just imagine trying to get that deal together. You got 60, maybe 66, 67 seats, and you're trying to get... Oh, who we got? We got 5 Teals, we've got 3 Greens, or 4 Greens. Like, far out. Just imagine trying to get that together.
And I think this has to be a lesson for every Liberal Party within here in Australia.
Yep.
You look at the Federal Liberal Party, they were bold in choosing Peter Dutton as their leader. And we've said this before in the podcast, they decided to have a point of difference, someone who's going to be a complete contrast to what you knew was going to be a disastrous government. You just have a look at Anthony Albanese and his history. He was never going to actually stand for everything. He was going to be a weak leader. That was always going to happen.
Yeah.
You appoint a strong leader. There's going to be a complete contrast that will then bring people along with him. And there'll be plenty of people in this election, coming out this federal election, that will vote for Peter Dutton that don't actually like Peter Dutton. You don't have to be liked necessarily to win an election.
No. Look at Tony Abbott.
And if we look at it is literally very similar to what we saw with Tony Abbott.
It's got that feel about it.
Everyone said the same thing. Tony Abbott is never going to be electable. This guy's,
Well, they said the same probably before your time, but they said the same about John Howard.
They said the same about John Howard. And every time we have had that bold leadership move, we have been successful. And Labor governments haven't lasted long for that reason.
Yeah. No, that's right.
On a contrast, we don't do that so well with state Liberal governments. Or state Liberal parties. When we're in opposition, we tend to... I mean, you have a look at Victoria, prime example. What is like...
That's not the Liberal Party at all. That's an absolute joke.
A strong Liberal Party...
Like if I was living in Victoria, there is no way on earth I could vote for those clowns.
Yeah. It's if they had someone like a Jeff Kennett or that type of era person there, like it would be a walkover. The Labor government in Victoria should be the most easily defeated government going around. You have a look what they've done with the economy, what they did during COVID, some of the worst in the world lockdowns. People were just so against it. You have a look at the protests on the street, social cohesion, what we're talking about. You have a look what they did with the Commonwealth Games. Glasgow's going to have a great Commonwealth Games. Thank you, Melbourne.
Paid for by Melbourne.
Like, there is so many things to campaign on, but they've gone Labor light.
Yeah.
You're basically Labor light without the union support.
New South Wales is no better.
New South Wales is no better. South Australia hasn't been great over the years.
Well, the problem we've got in South Australia is
we've got a right-leaning premier, so to the Labor right.
Yeah. But we also have it's shifting in South Australia. We have, for once, a Conservative executive.
Yep.
But our parliamentary team is still light blue.
And this is the thing that I think in any political movement that people need to understand is you have your branches and your membership. Your membership then vote for their presidents and their delegates. Those delegates takes a year for the next AGM to be elected.
Yep.
Then once you have the power of the state and the actual party executive, you can elect your own executive who you want to be your party president, your vice presidents. You also then have the option to start pre-selecting the upper house, being the Senate or the MLC in the state version of.
Yep.
You then get your Conservative members in branches who can start getting Conservative candidates up. But if just say here in South Australia, we have the moderates for years have control over the party. The Conservatives over the last 2 years have taken it.
Yeah, that's
pretty,
right.
and now pretty comprehensively. But it takes time to change it in the elected representatives. So, elections only happen every 4 years in the state, every 3 years federally. It takes 5 years, say, to really change how many politicians you have. So the political class is always going to be different to the delegate class, delayed by 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And that's changing here in South Australia. And I think other states are now watching what South Australia is doing. And it's going to be a great example where, the media will always report the fact that there's a divided party. But I think what they're going to see more and more now is a united, consistent, morally driven party. And I'm excited to see what that's going to bring.
Yeah, 100%.
South Australia, let's go a bit more local. Here, actually, on the weekend, I'm not sure when we actually get to release this podcast, not politically related, but we've got a bit of a sporting weekend. We've got the SANFL Grand Final.
Yes.
Probably the best league outside of the AFL. I think.
Go the Bays.
Go the Bays. I went to the prelim last week with Hudson. It was his first game of footy.
Oh,
had
prelim. There you go.
Glenelg staff waving. He was pretty excited about it. Actually watched the whole game. I was pretty stoked with that. Locally, we're in the southern part of Adelaide here. We've got the Southern Footy League Grand Final, Flagstaff Hill versus Ranella. Can Flagstaff get another one? We'll see.
Yeah, I think you might as well give them the cup now, mate.
I think we pretty well could. But, your club, Port Noarlunga, had a great year. Andrew Jarman coaching them.
Yes, they got knocked out last week, unfortunately. But
they've come a hell of a long way really quickly. You look at their junior program, sensational. That's been... they're building blocks, and I think every year now they're going to get better and better. And I think, if you had money in the next 3 years, you'd say they're going to win a premiership. You wouldn't say that because you're in the club and you don't want to.
No.
I'll say. I don't want
to oversell it, but
they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, look, they've got a few new players that they've come in, like obviously through Andrew Jarman and Ryan Fitzgerald has helped as well. So we've got some new players coming into the club, and I think this year, it was a bit of a, just trying to get some cohesion with the group. They did very well. Finished third. So, but yeah, I think next year that cohesion's already happened. They got used to playing together, and it'll be onwards and upwards.
Obviously, it's the club that developed Ryan Fitzgerald. He ended up playing AFL footy. I think it's going to happen again. Under 16s, young Zemis. This kid is going to be an absolute AFL sensation. Give it a few years. Remember Zemis from the Port Noarlunga Footy Club. He's going to be a target one from every AFL club.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So that's exciting parts there.
Don't forget that Ryan Fitzgerald played A-grade cricket for Port Noarlunga Cricket Club too.
A-grade cricket from Port Noarlunga Cricket Club.
Don't know how many games. Don't know those stats. But he has got an A-grade cap.
Sounds like the C-grade captain talking there.
Yeah.
Now. The other part, I suppose, the SANFL, I mentioned the best league outside the AFL, certainly better than the VFL. Last year, I had a look at the stats. Last year's grand final.
Do you reckon it's better than the VFL?
The VFL grand final last year, under the roof, had 6,800 people watch it.
Yeah.
They had about 40,000 at the SANFL grand final. The last time the two played in the SANFL versus VFL, SANFL absolutely smoked them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And you're seeing a lot more of players in Victoria who don't make AFL come over to South Australia to play in front of those bigger crowds and a bit of a bigger competition. Because in South Australia, we still have our traditional clubs. So we're Baysman.
Yeah.
There's not, if your whole family history has been Glenelg, you can't follow the AFL where, and the same thing for Norwood and all those sort of big clubs of the SANFL.
Yeah.
In Victoria, if you're a Collingwood guy, you're watching the AFL.
Yeah.
Because that's your A-grade club. So the fact that your A grade, the best of your club, is still in that league, I think has a bigger crowd turnout. So you barrack for the Crows, but you also very passionately barrack for Glenelg, where in Victoria, if you're Collingwood, you're not going to watch the Collingwood VFL team because you just don't care.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't paid that much attention to VFL football.
No, the Victorians don't either.
Well, that surprises me. But I would have thought the standard of football would have been equivalent to SANFL, but yeah.
No, I am parochial, so who knows? Maybe I'm telling you a misbit. But look at the crowd sizes. That's
There's
big
like
part.
20 teams. We've got, what have we got, 9?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess the talent's spread differently, but yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up this week's podcast?
No, I think we're good, mate.
No, perfect.
We've covered it all.
We do have a new system here. We've been trying to get some guests on, and we had a phone hook up the other week with the Honourable Ben Hood that we couldn't deliver because the technology wasn't working. We've got a new podcast deck. Hopefully the audio's sounding better this week, but we're going to get some big names coming up.
Trying to get more tech savvy here.
We're going to get more tech savvy. It's not really our strong point, but in the next couple of weeks we'll be bringing you some very big name politicians to this podcast. So hold your hat.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Awesome. Cheers, mate.